Hi everybody, all my followers, be welcome to another video. Right, the video today on this 2010 Mercedes E-Class Sport with the 2.2 liter diesel CDI, and I'm not gonna do a lot today. I'm literally just gonna record this bit now because I need to move the car, or I want to move the car, I would say, to over there behind that Seat. And while I'm gonna start the car, I want to take the opportunity to just do this startup and go for a quick test drive at the end of the road and try to understand exactly what's wrong with this. I haven't started the car since it was dropped here. The car was dropped here about 3 or 4 days ago. So the complaint of the owner is that the car is low on power. I can't remember now if he has used the words limp mode or safe mode. Not 100% sure, but he said the car is really sluggish, is really low on power, and when he shifts, I remember he saying something that when the car downshifts, you put your foot down and the car doesn't really go any faster. It's like, I don't know, I haven't drove the car, so that's what I was told. Apparently this has been on a few places already, try to get it resolved. He sent me some stuff, some scans and diagnostics and whatever. Not really. I've had a look through. There's a lot of codes that looks like old codes to me. But well, we'll as we go along, I guess we're gonna scan the car and we'll see exactly what's going on. But this has been in a few places, and apparently has been also at Mercedes. I'm not 100% sure on that. But the car had, this is what the car had, and I will show you later when we get under the bonnet, even to confirm that everything the guy told me is actually correct. So the car had, according to the guy, the car had a brand new turbo installed. I don't know if it was reconditioned or whatever, but he had a brand new turbo. The car had the boost pipes that connects to the intercooler. He had some sensors. He was not 100% sure which sensors the car had, but he had apparently a few sensors also installed, and apparently all those parts have not fixed the problem. So yeah, he spoke with me about 3 weeks ago. We arranged for him to drop it a couple days ago, and now we're going to try to see what we can do. So with no further ado, what I'm going to do is, I believe I remember him saying, yes it is, so it's gonna look in there. So engine light is on. Am I gonna have to cut the sound because of this music playing when I've started the car? But anyway, so engine light is on. I'm not going to scan the car just yet, guys. As I said, that's going to be probably for the next clip. What I'm going to do is going to go at the end of the road, try to understand what is wrong with this thing, to see what the car does, and I guess we'll go from there. Does it pass? Yes, it passed. Okay, see you in a bit. Okay, just got back home. I probably should have taken the support to put here on the window so I could take you through what the car is doing. It's not driving too bad, to be honest. It seems to me that this is all boost related, and I'm gonna have to scan the car today because I can't. It's gonna be grinding my head if I don't scan the car and know exactly what the car is complaining about it. But basically what the car is doing, guys, is, yeah, he's right, the guy is correct. So when you are driving along, if, let's say for example, either you slow down and the car puts a gear down, or if you just put your foot down a little bit more and the car needs a gear low, it needs to lower a gear to obviously gives you what you are asking for. Either way, when that gear engages, if you put your foot even further, the car just, it doesn't really move. It just carry on going at the same speed, and slowly, gradually starts to increase. The same if I kick down, or I don't even need to kick down. If I just go along, let's say on a third gear and I put my foot down a little bit more and the car needs to no, sorry, I'm saying it wrong. So if I'm also driving, let's say on a fourth gear, and I'm just going by, and then the car puts the fifth gear, right? When he puts the fifth gear, even if I accelerate a little bit more to gain speed, the car doesn't really have nothing there. But it looks to me like it's all booster related. So basically, guys, I'm getting nothing until about 2000 RPMs. At 2000 RPMs, that's when, you know, when you start to hear that sort of whistling from the turbo. But up to there, I don't get nothing. And then at about 2000 RPMs, that's when you start to hear the whistling and you can start the car pulling. You can start to feel the car kind of try to go a little bit faster. And by the time you get to about 2500, that's when you can actually feel the boost. You can hear the turbos pulling and the car goes. So to me, this turbo is kicking in really too late, or there's a leak somewhere that obviously is allowing the air to escape, and obviously the pressure will carry on building up slowly, even if there is a leak, if it's not too big. And then when it gets to a certain point, the car goes. I don't know, guys, it's a little bit weird. I felt a little bit weird driving this thing. It definitely doesn't drive right. It's drivable, but it definitely something is wrong. Well, that light tells you that. So what I'm gonna do, because I need to go sleep today, this afternoon, because I'm working nights, as I said. So I really need to go to bed because it's 4 o'clock, and I want to see if I can take a couple of hours sleep at least. But I need to scan this thing. I need to know what exactly is saying there and why this car had all this stuff thrown at it, and the guy still has the same complaint. He must have spent thousands already on the turbo, on the pipes, on the labor. He must have spent a few thousands already. So I'm really curious to know. Let's gonna get the Maxi, see what the car is moaning about. Okay, so what have I done? I don't want to do an auto scan. Control unit, that's what I want. Sorry guys, I pressed the wrong button. Drive. Motor electronics. I don't know which one is. CR42, so it's not the ME, there's not the ME. CDI 3. Let me find out. Okay, so I believe this is the CDI D2, because you can see there is a CRD 2.16. I believe if it was the 3, I believe they have CRD 3 point something. So this is the CRD 2.16 OM6451, which is the engine code or type. But I believe it's a CDI D2. But either way, I came back and I've actually run a auto scan on this thing. Easier. So I did an auto scan, not literally, it just completed. As you can see, let me see if I can do this without many glare. That's not impossible, but it is what it is. So as you can see, Jesus, this is bad. Okay, let me see there. You see better there? Okay, that's slightly better, just a bit. So as you can see there, we have a few modules with faults. ESP, there's no ESP lights or anything like that. A rear control module. I'm not too worried about any of that. Obviously, we are just focused on this. So let's gonna go into my engine. I'm really curious to see what the car is moaning about. What the car is complaining about. Especially to have all these parts already replaced and the guy still complaining about the same problem, which is a little bit weird. Turbo codes. Moment of the truth. Well, not the truth, but you know what I mean. So the faults are, I really need to update the MS908 as well. I have updated the IM608, and I need to update this one as well. I have loads of updates to do. I haven't updated these for about 2 years now. Right, let's see what it comes up with. It was only 4 faults, so okay, a little bit of the delay here. I've just been on the phone for something else, for the Toyota Avensis, which I will get to it on that video, not for this. Anyway, that doesn't really matter. I really need to go to bed, man, guys. So, turbo pressure sensor for the low pressure, turbo charger for the low pressure. Oh, right. Is this the B turbo? Turbo, the boost pressure sensor for the low pressure turbocharger is faulty. And all the other ones are stored. Is this the one with the 2 turbos? Probably it is. And looks like one of the turbos, the sensor is bad. Okay, we can't do anything else today, but we are ready. At least I know roughly what the problem might be. So what we're going to do next, guys, is maybe go for another drive with some live data and try to figure out what's going on. But that's not going to be today. Okay, and literally 2 weeks later we are back onto this. Obviously for you it's just the next clip. But I had to just log into the codes again because I had to refresh myself again about what was wrong with this car. So I've just loaded the codes again. So the main concern here is the P0240, which is for the boost pressure sensor for the low pressure turbocharger. I have the engine running now just to get the battery a little bit up to scratch. But I don't want to have the engine running for too long in case if we need to access any areas around the turbo. I don't want the things to be obviously too hot. But all I want to do now is quickly just go. Obviously we have all these other codes for boost pressure. Boost pressure is faulty, the function of the is faulty. So there's 2 P00AF and P00B0. But this is the one that we are concerned with, so that's the one we're going to focus on. And what I want to do quickly is just go to live data. Will that be that one in there? I think it's going to be that one. Okay, so going to start to look at these. So intake air temperature looks okay, atmospheric pressure looks okay, low pressure, boost pressure, I don't need the exhaust pressure, charge, air temperature, why not, west gate, don't need that for now, although it might be charged. Okay, so I'm not sure, guys, if this is a twin turbo or if it's some sort of bypass system on the turbo. I'm not familiar with this. I never worked on one of these, at least not for the turbo system. So I'm not 100% sure exactly what we have here, but just visually inspecting, I can see at least 2 or 3 actuators, and I can definitely see some sort of bypasses in there. Charged air bypass flap switch over. So there we go. We have this stuff here. That's it. That's all we have. So what I want to do, let's kind of look at these ones. So boost pressure sensor, low pressure boost pressure sensor. So we have these 2 here. Let's kind of go for a quick drive looking at these values, and I want to see exactly what happens with these values. Okay, and try not to warm up the engine too much is out of the window. Right, really weird. When I first left the driveway with the engine cold, I could swear I had boost very close from the beginning. It felt way more powerful, and then 5 minutes later it just went back to what it was when I drove it that day. Really strange, felt really strange. But one thing I've noticed, and I don't know if this is what is causing this issue, is that as you can see in there, the low pressure turbocharger boost, and the timeline, as you can see there, 408, 520, so it's like 1 minute and 20 seconds here. That, which is the blue line, is stuck at 0.799. It doesn't really move from there, despite, so obviously this is the boost pressure sensor, that's the low pressure turbocharger boost pressure sensor. And interestingly enough, I'm gonna do resume again. Why I've lost all the other data. Anyway, let's go back. I can see everything else changing, all the other values change. So these flaps here, so that flap there, that flap there, and that flap in there. This one stays closed all the time. I never seen it changing. Don't know if we should switch over or not. But these two definitely they change. So I can see them, these values changing. When it's asking for pressure, when I put my foot down, that goes down to about 18. And then as the car starts to roll and doesn't ask for so much pressure, that starts to go up to this, close to this value. Driving along is around 58, 60, somewhere around there. But yeah, so basically what it looks like to me so far is that this sensor here is stuck at 0.799. Ideally I would connect, as I said, did I say it? I don't know now if I did or not. I would connect the Mercedes computer. That will tell me straight away, or it will tell me way more stuff. At least I could from the computer straight away go to see where these sensors are and all that good stuff. But nothing that a little bit of investigation will not help. And I think the first thing I'm going to do, guys, is actually try to see where these sensors are, try to identify these sensors, and see if we can figure out if it's just one sensor faulty. That would be interesting if it is. But let's not going to jump too much. Let's gonna look to see what we can find. Okay, it's going to be a little bit noisy around there, but what we're going to be doing next is we're going to do some actuations for those rods that actuate the west gate and the bypass. And then I think, from what I can see around there, I cannot really see the actuator for the low pressure turbo because it's right stuffed at the back underneath, and I can't really see it. But for now, let's just going to see if I can see these two. If I can see these two actuating, that's a good sign, I'll say. So let's just going to do that. I have everything here ready to do it. I do apologize for the noise. And the first one I'm going to do is going to be the one in there, my rod in there, which is for the main turbo, if you wish. So let me see if I can put the camera here in a way. Okay, so let's gonna actuate that rod. So that one is good. It's gonna see the next one, which, if I can see this correct, is right there. You can see it right there. Right there. Oh no, sorry guys, I'll do it again. It's only the one for the small turbo really that I cannot see, so I'm not really sure how we're going to do this. Maybe put the car on the ramps, see if I can see something from underneath, or maybe take some of these pipes and see if there's anything visible, and we'll try to do that. Okay, and it's a little bit noisy around here. We've seen the other two. One is a bypass, the other one is the west gate for the bigger turbo, but we've seen that they are both working. The other one, the third one, for the small turbo, is back to the back. I can't really see it, but before we actually go through the trouble of put the car on the ramps and all that good stuff, try to look to see that rod moving, I think I found a way. I've seen a way here to see if that is moving or not, and that is just by looking on this here. So what I'm gonna do, let's gonna do the following here. So I have here, this is small turbo, big turbo, and then the switch over. So basically guys, the way this turbo works is you have two turbos, and the first turbo, and basically the first turbo just pushes air through to the small turbo, and then up to about, I think it's about 1500 RPMs, the small turbo is the one that actually boosts, okay? And then after, I believe is after about 1500 RPMs, the west gate, which is the second valve I showed you, open, and the second turbo, the big turbo, also boosts. And basically that bypass is what allows the big turbo to push the boost to the intake, bypassing the first turbo. But the first turbo carry on also spooling, so they work together, but obviously the air will have to bypass the first turbo, because otherwise will not be enough air to move around, because the small turbo is just that, it's just a small turbo. So that's roughly the way it works. You can find, I found some PDFs showing roughly how the system works. So yeah, so the only thing we need to establish now is if the small turbo west gate is working, and that's what we're going to try to see here. And the way I'm going to do it here is I'm going to increase the engine RPM to until about 1500 RPMs. Okay, so there we go. And now if I look here on my boost pressure sensor is 1059. I'm gonna open the small turbo. Look at my pressure. Now I'm gonna open it again, or close if you wish. That drops. Again. There we go. And I know you guys probably can't, but I can hear the turbo, the small turbo, when I actuate this. Let's close. I can actually hear the difference on the engine tone, and I can hear some sort of whistling around there. So it's the turbo is definitely doing something. And then if I do the bigger turbo, which I believe the bigger turbo needs to be done in conjunction with the flap, because I need to open the flap to bypass the first turbo, the small one, so the air just travels straight into the intake. So if I open that one, which is the west gate, not the west gate, damn it, it's just stopped the actuation. Let me try this again. So pull it down. So if I open the bypass, what happens in there? So just that. Now I'm gonna open the big turbo. It's only a 1500 RPM, so you should not be able to see a lot, if anything at all, really. Perhaps the big turbo needs a little bit more speed to do anything. Or that's the maximum. Oh, I can hear it now. I can definitely hear that turbo going. Oh yeah, I can definitely hear that turbo going. There we go. Alright, let me stop this. I could definitely hear the big turbo spooling up. Right, so I'm just a little bit curious about why that sensor is stuck in there. I need to find where that P0250/4 is and try to establish why he's stuck at that 0.799. I'm quite happy with the actuation of the turbos. That looks good to me. So let's gonna focus on that sensor. Okay, quick look at diagrams, and I think I found my sensor, which looks like is this sensor right here at the top, which I already unplugged it. Looks like it's this sensor. It has a little hose that goes all the way down and connects right there at the back. Okay, so I'm in the process of trying to reach that sensor. I'm not going to be here bother you probably with the removal of these things, but I'll put the phone here somewhere. Go. Should do. So we're going to remove this pipe here so I can have a better access to this sensor. The plug looks like someone has been in there. So someone has been here already. Now, is the sensor being replaced? Can I just pull these out? Hold on a second. Okay, and I'm gonna be now causing all sorts of turbo calls because I'm just pulling all these out. I'm pulling all these out with the ignition on. I'm taking all these sensors, but that shouldn't really matter too much. So this one is actually broken by the looks of it. This plug broken, yeah. Yeah, someone broke this thing off. Come on, come out. Go. And I'm gonna, no, I don't need to pull that one. I'll just now these pipes. See if I can pull this. This is not from here for sure. Come out. Yes, it does now. There we go. Okay. Oh yeah, this is definitely a brand new turbo, guys. Definitely a brand new turbo. So let me try to pull this sensor off. Wrong place. I need to put this somewhere else. I'll put it maybe here. Let's Strange that even disconnected is still reading 0.79. So I'm not really sure if that's the default value, if you wish. Okay. So this goes, oh right, so the sensor comes out but the pipe stays in place. Okay, I got you. Okay, so we have a couple sensors here that are the same. So this is another sensor here that looks the same to me, which is going to be, it's not a pipe, not isn't it? There's another sensor somewhere around there that's exactly the same as this, but that one, that's a Bosch. Yeah, so there's one sensor there. We have this one here. Okay, there's definitely two turbos. You can see them right there, one after the next one. Look at that. There we go. One there, another one right there. And the sensor, that pipe comes up and the sensor goes there. So, let me see what we're going to do next. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is obviously check powers and grounds. The powers and grounds on this particular sensor, oh no, it was not that one. It was this one here. This one here, yeah. So it's a blue and white, black and brown, and gray and white. So this is the sensor. These pins are 1 and 3, they are powers and grounds, and number 2 are going to be my signal. So we should have, worth the note that these powers and grounds are shared across a few sensors. And we have indeed 498, so I have the probes the other way around. So it looks like ground is going to be pin 1, yep, and pin number 3 is going to be the 5 volts. Let's just make sure this is actually voltage by doing a quick load test. Just check the test light. Yeah, it is working. It's gonna check my voltage. Hope you can see my test light. Maybe like, let me turn the camera a little bit around. There we go. You can see now the test light. We don't have nothing. What did I do? There's nothing here. Hold on. Whoa. Let me double check this. Make sure I have a good ground. What the heck's going on there? Okay, so test light is definitely working. It's gonna go on that plug again. Okay, so I'm pretty sure it was 3 was positive, 5 volts, and then number 1 was my ground. Let me just try again. Yeah, there's nothing here. Let's try another sensor. That's gonna suppose that this is gonna be the same. Let me just see. Okay, that's really strange. What the heck's going on here? What's going on here? Let me pull. Definitely is working. Sorry guys, I had to stop recording. Mrs. was calling. But as I was saying, there's nothing here on any of these plugs around here. Everything's dead. Let me see if we have ground though. me just move this to the battery in there. Let me see if it's working. Yes, it is working. Let me try now the ground. Yeah, we do have ground, but we don't have any voltage. Yep, we have ground here. Right, so let's check if we have continuity from the sensor all the way up to the ECU. Okay, so I have the laptop here for the diagrams. I should really let it to charge a little bit longer, but it should be enough for us just to do a quick check around here. So this loom, where this goes, comes all the way around, and comes all the way to the front to this plug. So this is going to be my plug. Okay, looks clean. Okay, so according to my diagrams, let me see if I can change these two. There, continuity. I'm sure you can see the thingy. So let me see, pin 2. So signal goes to pin 9. So pin 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Done, gone. Next pin is pin 3. Pin 3 looks like it goes to pin 11. But it should be alright. No, sorry, let me check pin 1 first, which was the ground, which is going to be good. That goes to pin 39. Let's double check, why not? 25, 26, 27. Bingo. So, now the culprit, which looks like is pin 1. Sorry, pin 3, which is my voltage. Pin 3 should come to pin 11. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This doesn't look good. This does not look good. Let me tell you that. Because if we have all of this and we have okay, so the wiggle test doesn't show anything. Do we have a bad ECU? Oh dear, let me just check if that's the same that comes to this one here. Yes, it is. Okay, I don't know where I was, but indeed it is the same that feeds also that sensor right there at the back underneath the EGR cooler there. It looks to me like that is actually the boost pressure sensor one, the one that was actually reading, so I'm really confused why. What the heck's going on here? What is going on here? Because I don't really understand. Let me plug this back in. Okay. So ignition back on. And let me think, let me see here. Right, I'm really confused right now. let me stop and think properly to see if I understand what's going on here. Okay, so I'm connecting the entry at the moment. Should have done that probably from the beginning, but the strange thing that I've noticed here as well is the following. Is that if I connect this like so, let me get one of these sensors. So I have my gun here, my pressure tester. If I plug this in on any, it doesn't matter which plug I plug that in here. I have the one here which is for the intake. There's some sort of pressure or vacuum sensor in there, and I have this one, the one that is giving us default. And let me show you this. If I connect this to ground, the multimeter, and I come here, let me just make sure I'm reading pin number 3. I think is that one. Yeah, it is. Let me put that here so you can see. I do have the 5 volts. I'm going to put on a signal, and I have 3.8. It's not a poor connection here. Let me move it around. I have 3.8 volts, and now if I start to put a little bit of pressure, so 3.8, if I start to put a little bit of pressure, it jumps to 4.7, and it doesn't go anything above 4.7, so I put it in there. Now if I do the opposite, if I do vacuum, it starts to go down from the 3.8, and I can get all the way down to about 1 point something. There we go. Actually, maybe below that. Will I be able to? Yeah, if I really apply vacuum. So I don't know if this is the normal behavior of the sensor. I guess we'll have to see what the Zentry tells us. But it's strange that I don't pick up any voltage on this. I really don't understand why. It should light up, not fully bright, but it should light up on 5 volts, unless the ECU, I don't want to load it for too long, unless the ECU is not providing enough voltage to light this up, which is possibly. That's why I don't want to leave it connected for too long. It's literally just touch it. If it doesn't light up, that's it, but maybe that's what it is. So let's kind of quickly go to Zentry, see what it tells us. Okay guys, and I think I've just found the problem. Right, so first of all, let me just say something about the fact that I was not able to see my test light coming on when I was testing the 5 volts. Most likely 99% of assurance that is purely because the ECU is just supplying a reference voltage, and that voltage doesn't have enough current to be able to light up the test light. So initially I thought, okay, maybe something here, but then when I went to that sensor there, which is the second boost sensor, B1 something, that sensor there is right there, you can see in there. So when I went to that sensor, which we know is working because we've seen the live data, is the one that actually fluctuates, and I get the same result. That to me indicates straight away that this is not a power supply problem. The multimeter reads the voltage there though, as you've seen. I would just load test just to make sure, but it looks like my test light just loads too much for the ECU to be able to supply. When you load test 5 volts like this, especially with a test light like this, which is a filament test light, I actually need to get an LED one because it draws way less current for this type of stuff. But when I do it with this, I literally just poke it very quickly into the wire. If it doesn't light up, I take it off. I don't leave it for too long. I've showed you in the past in the videos, on some other videos. Usually the light up obviously doesn't fully bright because this is a 12 volt bulb, but usually starts to light up slowly. But obviously it's clear to see that the ECU is just not supplying enough to be able to do that on the test light. So with that out of the way, let me show you what the problem is. And I think we might have actually even another problem, but I'm not going to even touch into that. I'm not going to even mention it unless it becomes a problem later on, because I was not, because at the moment looks like it's not causing any issue, which is to do with my atmospheric pressure, which I believe is the sensor that lives here. So I remove this, the intake. I believe is this sensor here at the top, okay, which is exactly the same sensor. As you can see, there's two sensors here. So there's the two sensors. One was the one that was there, and the other one was the one that was here on our turbo pressure. And I think that's where the problem is, because what happens is I swapped the sensors. So I thought, okay, maybe providing we have a good power supply, etc., to the sensors, which we already said we do have, I thought maybe the sensor is bad. But it doesn't matter what I do. As soon as I put one of these sensors on the wire, so here, I believe this is the atmospheric pressure sensor. And every time I put something on the other one, on the one that goes in there, is reading B4 low pressure turbocharger boost pressure sensor, 0.799 bars. As soon as I plug this, look at that, 3.4. And the reason why it goes to 3.4 is because, as I showed you, it reads 3.8 volts, which means just by putting it like this, which it looks like this sensor, either both sensors are faulty. If I do the other sensor, so let me swap the sensors, try with this, I will show you, it does exactly the same thing. As soon as I plug it in, as you're going to see in there, 0799, 3.38, which to me means that either both sensors are bad, or this sensor is supposed to measure pressure and a little bit of vacuum, because as I've showed you, if you go the other way, if you apply vacuum, the voltage drops. However, it's interesting that when this is connected to here, to the sensor, to the plug that goes in there, I can't see any change on my atmospheric pressure. I don't know why, but it doesn't change. However, if I put this sensor, which is the sensor from B1, which now B51, which is now really 0.8, because it's in my hand, it's disconnected. If I plug this into here, so this is the plug for my low pressure turbo. Look what happens when I plug it in. Look at the 0799. Boom. Atmospheric pressure pretty much. There we go. So basically, the sensor that was here is the wrong sensor for this car. This is the sensor we need. That's the sensor we don't need. Right. We got it. We got somewhere. We are getting somewhere. And just before I go, the reason why I was saying I'm not really sure what's going on with this atmospheric pressure is because if I put this same sensor on my atmospheric pressure plug, well, on the plug on that intake, and if I apply pressure here, okay, what you're going to see is that my value there, look, it doesn't change. Look at that. So I'm not really sure if this is the right sensor for the atmospheric pressure, or there is another sensor somewhere, or if this is a sensor that's supposed to read something else. Don't know. Not really sure yet at this moment. I might try to find out. And just being a pain, just before I go then, so I put the sensor that was down there here on my first turbo, plugged in into here, and as you can see, B4 is reading 1.006 when I apply pressure here. But it's in vacuum, sorry about that. Woo. There we go. Look at that. Perfect. There you go. Right, let's gonna get the right sensor for this, and in the meantime, I don't have these sensors 100%, but in the meantime, I'm gonna try to figure out if the sensor that was there, if it's the correct sensor. So if any of these sensors is actually the correct one for this car. Okay, so let me show you quickly what that sensor is. So that sensor is this one here, B285, which is shared with all the other ones, at least the voltage and stuff. And that's B285, which is, as you can see there, pressure sensor downstream of air filter. So indeed, that's our sensor, B28/5. But as you can see there, I don't have that sensor here. So it's definitely not that. That's why that didn't change. So learned something today, and I hope you guys did as well. So this atmospheric pressure sensor is going to be a sensor that's going to be elsewhere. To be fair with you, some cars, they even have this sensor internal in the ECU. So it could be that this is one of those cases. So that's another sensor. Where that sensor is sending the information to, I don't have a clue. I really don't know where that is. I've checked all of these here, and I don't see nothing here for that. B2, nope. There, engine start. It's not going to be nothing to do with this. Okay, so idling, full load. Let me see if I can see that. If it shows here somewhere. 28.5. 28.8. Nope, it doesn't show the 28.5. Gas recirculation. 28.5, there it is. Actually shows in there, look at that. 0.285. So there it is. So it's on the exhaust gas recirculation. Let's just plug it in and see what readings we have. When I plug this sensor there, make sure this is the correct sensor. Just in case if this sensor is the wrong one as well. Let me see what we get when I push it in. 1.1 bar, so that's correct, that's spot on. There we go. You see? There we go. So this is the right sensor for the intake, which reads pressure, which it should be a lot of low pressure, because it's never going to get a lot of pressure because you always have vacuum, and that's why it's more at that's why at the rest position it reads 3.8 volts, because then as you apply vacuum, which is when the car sucks the air, that's when. So there we go. That's spot on, guys. So basically, someone put the wrong sensor in there. That's going to get the right sensor, and hopefully, we have a fix. Right, guys. Following day, and as you can see there, we have a new Bosch sensor to install. That's the part number. The part number is, this is the Bosch, is 0261230439, is the same number as the one that we have in there. There is also 440, which is also compatible, and there is probably other sensors that do work as well. The Mercedes part number is this number here. I don't know if it's been superseded, but at least is the part number I could find. Now, I literally, guys, just got off the phone with the owner of the car to understand a little bit better of something else he asked me to look at, and I've asked him about more details about this, because when he dropped the car, I was not even at home. It was the missus that received the key, and we just spoke briefly over the phone as of what the problem was, and I never really gathered much details. But I spoke with him today, just this morning, and I've asked him a little bit more details about it. And guys, you're gonna love this. So the guy bought the car with this issue, right? So he bought the car with this issue, and basically the car has been already to Mercedes as well. Obviously, I don't know when he has been to Mercedes, if that sensor was already replaced or not, but he said it's been at Mercedes, they couldn't solve the problem either, or they requested for the car to be there for longer, and he didn't want to leave the car for longer. But guys, the car had sensors. I don't know which sensors they replaced, if these sensors, probably that sensor as well, and that was one of the mistakes they did by putting the wrong sensor. He had vacuum actuators, so these vacuum here's, I think there is, he said he replaced 3 out of the 4 that exists on this car, so I guess he replaced that one, possibly that one, and I don't know where the other ones are, but he guaranteed there's, it looks like there's another one there, because there's a breather in there, but he said to me that they replaced about 3 out of the 4. The car had the 2 pipes, so that pipe that goes from the turbo to the intercooler, and the one that comes out from the intercooler, as you can see there, into the intake. They've been both replaced. The turbos, guys, the turbos have been replaced. The turbos, they were not brand new. I know I mentioned earlier on the video they were brand new, or they look brand new. They were remanufactured, but still he had the turbos assembly, the two turbos, and all of these, guys, to try to solve this problem. Now, I don't know if this sensor was here, the wrong one right at the beginning, and that's what led everybody else in the wrong path, or whatever. I don't know, don't have those details, but yeah, it's been about a year and a half. The guy said he bought the car, and it's been for about a year and a half trying to solve this problem. So let's gonna put the new sensor and see if that fixes this. Okay, everything is back in place. A few cable ties to hold these hoses here a little bit better. And while I was doing this, I've noticed that, look at that, look at that cover. One of the clips is here. I found it, I've seen it somewhere right there at the bottom. You can't really see it, but it's there somewhere. I'm gonna try to retrieve it and see if we can put it back and close that properly, because that's not very good. And in the meantime, I just got the laptop ready with the phone holder for the windscreen, or for this window, whatever I'm gonna put it, and we're gonna load some live data, clear the codes on ECU first, obviously, and then go for a test drive. I don't know if there's any reset or learning procedures for this particular engine. I'm gonna have a look and then I will let you know. But yeah, we're gonna go for a test drive just to see if the problem is fixed or not. That's better, much better. Right, that's gonna go then. Okay, as you can see, all the codes are stored. So we're going to clear this, and then I'm going to look to see if there's any so no fault codes. Let me see if there's anything for adapt any of that stuff. Oh, that's the teaching process, isn't it? Injector quantity, drift, blah 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 blah, teaching particle filter, personal. Okay. High pressure fuel circuit, so there's nothing here for that. Configuration, that's the coding. Initial startup, special procedures, regeneration, retrofit. Nope, looks like there's nothing here to reset anything by the looks of it. So all we're going to do now is we're going to go to actual values. Actually, I'm going to cycle the ignition. Now, let me cycle it. Let's start it. There it is, engine lights gone off. We're just gonna go quickly again to my codes, make sure there is no codes. We're gonna go to actual values, and we're gonna load the, what was that? Was boost pressure control, am I correct? There we go. So my B4 now, as you can see in there, is reading something, and I believe, there we go, there you go, that's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. Right, this one is reading a little bit low, but we never had any issues for that. So what I'm going to do is we're just going to go for a drive and see how the car drives. Okay, that's going to go for a drive, and let me also put that here on the screen. That's good. So engine is not up to temperature yet, but it shouldn't take long. It is at 54 degrees. We'll wait a little bit, but it should be soon. We're gonna slowly go for a drive. Forget about these arrows here. That just shows where the boost pressure should be in between. As you can see, the top one for the low pressure turbocharger, B5/4, it doesn't really look for a position where it should be, just shows you the value in there. Don't know if it's a software update that my Zentry software needs or something along those lines, but is what it shows. So obviously this was on that test where he asks you to rev the engine up to 3000 RPMs, and then you should see that value between those brackets. I'm not worried about that. I just want to see if these values kind of works okay, if we have the boost working, all that good stuff. I'm gonna wait a little bit longer, drive a little bit slower for now until the engine is fully warmed. So it's already going up. There we go. So let's gonna is driving okay, but the last time I drove this car 2 times. This is the 3rd time. So the first time was right at the beginning of the video, then I did that 2nd time, and as I mentioned in there, it nearly looked like at the start the car was actually driving fine. It was a little bit weird, but by the time I go back home, was definitely doing the same thing again. So I'm just gonna be here going back and forwards on this road. Maybe I'm gonna turn right now actually, and I go on that road, then I'll come back. I'm just gonna be driving around here. So if you don't want to see this bit of the video now, just go watch something else. We are at 71 degrees, so I can pull a little bit more of this thing. Right, so far it's driving absolutely perfect. It's changing gears perfectly. It's doing absolutely everything fine. We'll see if any codes comes back. I hope not. Okay, so I forced the car. I don't know what you can see on the dash, on the cluster. I don't think you can see the RPMs, probably, I don't know. But I just forced the car to drop a gear and then accelerated and did it perfectly. So before it was really erratic. It was like, would drop the gear and then you would accelerate and was nothing there. It was really sluggish and etc, etc. It's going to go up to the end of this road and then we'll have to turn around. It's driving good. So we are pretty much up to temperature now, so let's gonna turn around and blast this thing a little bit. Probably not on this road, but I'll have to turn around here. This is the end of the road. Driving good. So we can carry on kind of talking if you want me talking. Right, so for me it was actually a learning. I've worked on many Mercedes, as you guys know, but it was actually the first time I worked on a B-turbo like this, on a problem on a turbo system like this. So obviously I was not familiar with it, so I had to, as you've seen, well, you've seen it on the video, but I was not familiar with this system. And I had to kind of get familiar with how it works, where the turbos are actuated, where the air flows through, which sensors do what, and all that good stuff. And that's important, guys. That's very important, that you get familiar with what you are working, because if you know exactly how the systems should work, then it's way easier for you to identify the point of failure. I think that's very important. So let me get now onto that main road. So Engine is well up to temperature. So went on a red now because on these live data where he's asked you to check that boost system, control system, he's not expecting you to get the engine that warmed up. So he wants to test just between those two little arrows. That doesn't really matter. So he dropped one gear. The beauty of this is that right at the bottom, as you can see, on the green band, it still shows you what the ECU is asking for. So the ECU is asking for the boost pressure to be in between those two brackets, and as you have seen, it follows it quite well. And then the top one obviously just shows you the pressure, but as you can see, it's not stuck at 0.799 anymore. So we have pressure readings in there, which is absolutely perfect. I can hear the turbos, or the turbo slash turbos, I guess. You can't pinpoint which one is spooling, but you can definitely hear the turbos spooling. So I'm going to try to see what the car was doing before, which was forcing it to down gear and then accelerate. But I'm going to try to force it to down gear, to downshift, not by accelerating, but by reducing my speed. And then as soon as I feel the car has reduced the gear, I'm going to pull my foot down, because that was also where the car was really sluggish. So let me see, I don't know which gear is engaged at the moment. Let's gonna try. So I'm gonna slow down. Here we go. Oh, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. He's driving like a dream. So look at that. Looks like either the fans have kicked in or the thermostat has opened. I believe the thermostat would open before 100 degrees. That must be the fans, the radiator fans that kicked in. It's dropping really a lot. Wow. Dropped nearly 20 degrees. That way. So he's just upshift one gear, and I felt it like sort of slowing down. So one gear up. Let's gonna put my foot down now, but without making it to. There we go. Oh, beautiful. Let me now make it to change gears. Oh, beautiful. He's driving beautiful, guys. So that problem with the gears was actually because of the... I think I've enabled the cruise control. It looks like the problem that I was doing on the gears was actually all related, well, I thought that would be anyway, was all related to the turbos and nothing to do with the gearbox. So I'm really happy with the way the car is driving. I'm really happy that this is a fix. And guys, I think this problem is a primary example, guys, of how important it is to check live data. And I mentioned this so many times when people ask things on my channel, ask for help. I always say scan the car and check live data, because the live data can help you to paint a way more clear picture of what the problem might be. If you just go for the code, look, the code was obviously pointing for that, which was quite self-explanatory, but in this case not so much. But always check live data, guys. Always check live data. Obviously live data showed us that we had an issue with that sensor, stuck at that value, etc, etc. So that's it, guys. It's sorted. In the end, someone did a mistake. We don't need to dwell more into that. Pay attention on the parts you change. Don't just think because it fits that it's going to work, because it's not always the case. And guys, with no further ado, I think I'm going to wrap up this video here. I think I haven't forgot anything. If I did, guys, you know exactly how it works. So with no further ado, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you have learned something. If you do still have any questions, any comments, guys, you know exactly how it works. Just put them below. And like always, thanks for watching.